Welcome to Chik Chat, the podcast where the girl with many titles talks about life, the good and the bad, and everything around it. We're going to sit, chat, share life stories and experiences, from business to relationship. Welcome to another episode of the Chik Chat podcast. Today I am joined by Wannie. Hello.
Hello.
Thanks so much for joining me. Do you know what? I've been so excited about this one specifically as well, because, so we'll give you a bit more context, but one, to have another female, another Zambian, and a Zambian that's actually gone into being a doctor, but works online as well. Like, there's so much to unpack.
Oh, thank you. That's such a lovely introduction. I feel like we've known each other for such a long time. So it's just, yeah, it's really nice to be here. And thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you are welcome. But, right, okay, so, like, well, to be fair, okay, I'll let you properly introduce yourself. And then, like you said, we've known each other since basically we were kids. So the stuff that, well, no, do you know what? No, we'll keep it all open. And yeah, introduce yourself.
Oh, you know what? I've recently started a new job and I've been introducing myself quite a few times and I realized I'm not very good at it, but I will do my best. So my name is Wannie. I am a doctor, as Chik mentioned. I'm currently working in a research facility at a university in infectious diseases, vaccine research, that kind of thing. But I've been a doctor for 4 years now, coming up to. And I also on the side do content creation, mainly around giving people advice when it comes to medicine and getting into medical school and, you know, being a doctor and just general lifestyle as well.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And right, okay, so let's start with for anyone that's new, we normally start with either a tip of the week or a challenge of the week. So which one are you going for?
Oh, so wait, what's the first one? So win of the week, a challenge of the week, and what was the first one?
Or tip of the week.
Oh, a tip of the week. Oh, I think my tip's probably linked to my challenge of the week. So I will say the challenge first and go with that. So, like I said, I started a new job recently and I've been facing a lot of imposter syndrome, probably the worst that I've ever experienced it in my life. Having moments of spiraling. And I had 2 moments of breakthrough with that, which are my tips of the week. I think the thing with imposter syndrome is it generally is in your head. Like by definition, it's you feeling like you're not meant to be somewhere where you probably actually are.
Yeah.
Thankfully for me, I'm quite an external processor. So like just from needing to get these emotions out, I've had quite a few pep talks from other people. And from that, realizing that generally, if you're in an imposter syndrome specifically, there are people around you who can help. Just because you don't know something doesn't mean that you're not meant to be there. Just because you don't, and I've had to change the way I frame my thinking about my capabilities and what I'm able to do, and start saying, instead of saying I can't do this or I don't know how to do this, I say I'm not able to do it yet, and like can't do it yet. And when I have those kinds of conversations with people where I'm like, I feel like I can't do this, and framing it that way, you end up finding people who have the knowledge and skills that can help you get to where you want to be. So I hope that makes sense. That's my tip of the week.
It does. And I swear that's so weird because mine's quite similar. So I'm in a business where like things are growing, but we're in a really difficult economy. And then we have a client that decided they were going to break a contract, and we don't take on a lot of clients. Like my business is a lifestyle business, so the idea is let's all figure out how much we need to earn to live and live comfortably, and then work away. So we don't take on that many people. And the lesson I've learned is always have a buffer and always have stuff ready to go. But I don't believe in messing people around, and I never want to be in that position. But being left by a client in a way that wasn't conducive, basically, and breaking a contract really wasn't helpful. And the imposter syndrome did kick in because it's the whole thing of like, what am I supposed to do? I'm figuring all this out myself. And I realised as well, and I actually messaged one of my old clients earlier because I'm in between getting into property as well as all this stuff with the business. And I was like, I just need a bit of advice. And this guy is a black guy. And I was like, I'm really struggling here. And I don't understand if it's because of the space I'm in as a woman, if it's the space I'm in as a black person, or it's just absolutely everything. Replied straight away and was like, been there, done that. Here's some advice. And on the property side of it, he actually dealt with a specific problem that I'm looking at right now. So rather than me have to sit and Google it and figure it out, he's just given
Mhm.
me the answer.
Yeah. Yeah, the answers are often in the people around you, like in the places you least expect it. And I think people like to help, like it's human nature. People want to share, like the lessons they've learned. So chances are, if you're struggling with something, you're not the first person, and it's not the first time. Someone else will have gone through it and will be willing and happy to share with you, as long as you don't just sit in that bubble of, oh my gosh, it's all going wrong. You have to
Yeah.
open up, like you said. So I'm glad that that person came into your life at that time.
Oh,
It's
thanks.
really good.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, so true. But okay, actually, this leads us on very comfortably to our. I really want to find out kind of your journey because I was watching one of your TikToks the other day about how you got into being a doctor, and I laughed a lot because I feel like a lot of my career has been me literally just being petty, trying to prove people wrong.
Mm,
And obviously, like I said at
hmm
the beginning, not only are you a black woman, you're a young black woman that's a doctor that's gone into a field as immigrants anyway. This is like the be all and end all, but you are doing
mm,
something that is different, but is really interesting and is really inspiring as well because the way
mm,
that you talk about medicine as well, I love the fact that you're realistic about what's going on with the NHS and with where you
mm,
are, but the fact that there are different paths and different ways of doing it. And if anyone wants to show this is what life can look like if you go down this path, you are that person.
mm.
That how did you get there? And I know you said about the imposter syndrome, but how have you like overall found the journey?
Oh, that's a big question. I'll try not to like waffle and tell you my whole life story. Like, I was born in Zambia. No, I won't do that. But I think that as oldest children in African households, we have that mentality of if a bit of stubbornness, probably taken from our dads most likely. And I think that stubbornness has been like a trend throughout my life in terms of if I struggle with something, if someone tells me I can't do something, or if someone tells me it's difficult or challenging, my brain lights up and I'm like, challenge accepted.
Yeah,
Um, and so I think I went to a predominantly white school here in the UK, and I was always hardworking. My parents always drilled into me the importance of education, of studying. But despite the fact that I, worked hard and got good grades, I would see my teachers um the way they talk to my white counterparts in school and the goals and challenges that they'd give to them and
yeah,
the way they viewed their future versus how they viewed my future. And I'd be like, this isn't adding up here.
yeah,
Like, what's the difference between me and them? And so I kind of went into medicine and looking at a career in medicine with that attitude in mind, where I was sitting in a class with someone who I felt was just as intelligent as me, but they were being offered, medicine outreach days and like work experience days. And it was
yeah,
kind of like I was the afterthought in it. So I kind of was like, you know what, I will see if I can do it. Let me try it.
yeah,
And I shared in that in that TikTok that I actually didn't get into medicine first time around with my A levels, and on results day, I didn't get the grades despite me having offers and thinking I'd get into it. And one of my teachers turned to me and was like, maybe medicine isn't your path in life. And oh gosh, that moment has stuck in my head. And I was like, you know what? No, I'm gonna try it. People were giving me odd ratios of like, 100 people applying for a place, one place being given. And I was like, if it's meant to be, it will be. And I will work hard to make sure I'm putting myself in the position where that opportunity is given to me. And yeah, so long story short, that's how I got into medical school. I studied at Newcastle University for 5, 6 years. And then now, like I said, I've been working as a doctor for 4 years.
absolutely love that. And how have you found the journey overall so far, I guess? Because like you've touched there on how people were talking to counterparts at school versus
Mm.
you now being in that position to go, okay, well, my destiny is my own, no one
hmm
else's.
It's still an ongoing journey, even to this day. I think with time comes competence,
Yeah,
and people respect that. But I found that even when I was in medical school, even now as a doctor, if I'm in a room with a white male, their competence is assumed, and I have to show mine. I have to prove myself mine.
yeah,
And unfortunately, that's just the way the world is.
yeah,
Um, I am fortunate now that I'm starting to surround myself with mentors, with women of color who have, worked through an environment that's worse than what I'm
Yeah.
experiencing. And having them encourage me is honestly a huge part of what keeps me motivated to keep going. And I hope that one day that, the young people that follow me on TikTok, I had a girl come up to me at a party who was in school saying, "Oh, I want to be a doctor and I follow you on TikTok." I hope that they won't have to face the same level of like, imposter syndrome and
Yeah.
having to prove yourself that I am. And I'm grateful for the people that went ahead of me who are able to support me so I don't have to face the same things that they do.
Yeah, oh, I absolutely love that. It
Mm,
gives me such goosebumps because so I wanted to do
mm,
biomedical engineering, and when I was in sixth form, I failed my first year of sixth form. I went to give blood, didn't realize I'm a single
mm,
cell carrier, and just a lot of things were going on. But like you, I'd always done like my brother was the A student, and whilst I wasn't an A star student, when I
mm,
put my mind to something, I always get there. And I remember
mm,
being sat down and told, "You can't pass maths." And I was like,
mm.
what do you mean I can't pass maths? So
What does that mean?
yeah, I was already was put in a statistics class
Mm,
earlier for GCSE. So I'm like, how have you gone from saying I'm good enough to be put into an advanced class when I was younger, and then now
mm,
we can see that I've never done this badly at all my whole school life. We can see what the
mm,
problem was, and you're not
mhm,
wanting to accept it. And I decided I was like, do you know what? Friends will be friends, whether they want to be friends
mm,
or not. That'll be
mhm,
it. I'm gonna move and I'm gonna start again. And that's weirdly how I got then into more and more into business because
mhm.
circumstances just changed. But
Yeah.
being told you cannot do something, or maybe you should
Mm,
think of another path, and it's like, who are you
mm.
to say that?
Yeah. I think over time I've mastered the ability of trying to discern which voices to listen to.
Yeah,
Because I think, especially as women of color in fields that we're not represented in or we're not seen as leaders in, there are people who will genuinely have your best interests at heart and want you to succeed. And being able to take criticism is important, and constructive criticism. But you also have to be careful who you're listening to, where you're like, this doesn't sound right. No, this doesn't sound like my destiny, and I'm not going to listen to you.
yeah.
So yeah.
That's so true because it's everything that, like, not even just in that space. Because we're talking, I was doing some research the other day. I'm thinking of doing a PhD, and
I saw your TikTok today. I was like, "Oh, exciting!"
but it's more. So the reason that came up was because I have this vision in my mind of me doing a TED talk, and I gave myself 5 years. I was like, right, I'm going to do a TED talk. I'm going to do all this. And when I
Mhm.
looked into what I'd want to do as a TED talk, so I even came up with like I want to call it removing the mask because I feel
Okay.
like for the longest time I wore this mask of what I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to do, the person I'm supposed to be in society. And that, like the story I've just told you, no matter how hard I tried to be the person these people wanted, it was never good enough. And when I
Mm,
started looking into that and like living more authentically, the more authentic I've been, certain people obviously then don't want to be associated with you because you speak your mind.
mm,
But the
mhm,
flip side of that, you find in the community. But it's where you turn around and go, okay, in me
mm,
finding this, sadly, especially like you were talking about, like people of color, women of color in
mm,
power of position. It's not that we're not in
mm,
power of position. The problem
mm.
is it's how we're looked at, and people assuming
Yeah.
we can't be in powers of position and we aren't in powers of position. But the more research I've done, especially as I'm looking into like studying all of this, the more you realize that like women run things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Run the world.
yeah, but not even just running things in terms of physically running things, it's women's opinions, it's women's
Hmm.
the way that we shape things. And as women
Hmm.
of color, especially when you look at immigrant children, when you look at
Hmm.
there's a whole load of us that resonate with each other because there's a standard that's there, but it's the standard of I am looking at people that are achieving things, and it might not be what I want to achieve, but they are showing me that it is possible. And yet there still seems to be this barrier of, oh, but we can't be in those positions when ultimately
Hmm.
we should be. And I think it's so important,
Yeah.
especially the work that you do and the way that you talk about things online, for people to see a young person,
Hmm.
someone that loves what they do, but also does
Hmm.
different things outside of that, showing
Yeah.
the lifestyle. And like when you're putting makeup on, I'm sat there, I'm like, because when I'm working
Yeah.
sometimes, I can't
Yeah.
listen to a
Yeah.
podcast, but I love scrolling through TikTok. So the get ready
Hmm.
routine, like whilst that's not something that I can do because I'm too lazy to put
Yeah.
makeup on, I love those because
Uh-huh.
it feels like we're sat on a FaceTime talking, but All of that
Mm.
for me is someone that is willing to put themselves out there in a
Mm.
world where you're not always going to be perceived in the best way. So obviously we're talking about
Mm.
society and the people that you see day to day, but how have you found that online?
Mm. Like, sorry, that question, could you repeat the question in terms of
Oh yeah, so
how?
like obviously there'll be people that judge and assume that you can't do a particular job or particular things, and that's in person. So that's already a barrier that
Yeah,
you've got to deal with on a day-to-day basis. But how have you
yeah.
found it online with being going viral, being seen by a lot of people, having people giving unsolicited opinions, basically?
Oh, it's gotten better. I was speaking to one of my friends about it. She was like, oh, she basically managed to describe how I was feeling really well.
Yeah,
And she was like, I struggle with being perceived. Like, do you struggle with being perceived online? And I think that's the difficulty with the nature of all of social media. You get a snippet into people's lives, and
yeah,
you get, like you say, me putting on my makeup on a day that I'm happy and want to put on my makeup, when actually in reality that's not always the case. And you see, and I try and like explain my opinions and feelings about a certain topic to do with the NHS in a snappy 2 minute video that's going to grab people's attention.
yeah,
But it's not the same as, for example, us having this conversation for a long time, and where you can like ask questions to actually understand what someone's trying to say.
yeah,
um when I started making videos on TikTok specifically, I didn't have any friends or people that I knew on my account. And I
yeah,
was just like, the people who are going to follow me are the people who are going to like my content, like what I'm trying to say, and understand me. And that was the case
yeah,
for a while. And I was really happy with my little couple of hundred followers.
yeah,
And then as it starts to get bigger, then you get people who don't want taking the time to really understand me and understand what I'm about. And the first couple of videos that went viral, I had pretty much panic attacks.
oh,
Like, to the point where like I privatized my account. I was like so stressed. I couldn't
yeah,
deal with it, just because of some of the really negative comments and the people assuming things that I wasn't intending.
yeah,
Um, think over time I've managed to, like, if someone's just being rude, horrible, racist, like, it's an instant block. Blocking is free on my
yeah, love that. Yeah,
I'm like, I need to protect my peace and energy.
yeah,
And I realized that I can't argue with everyone. And generally, I feel like I can communicate myself in a way that people generally do get what I'm saying. And now if people disagree or they don't understand, I generally find like my followers will be answering on my behalf
yeah,
and actually saying that's not what she meant, and it. So I've definitely calmed down a lot about it. But it's still, that being perceived that is uncomfortable
yeah.
completely. And I mean, I don't know how you find it. Maybe you can give me some advice because you've been doing this a lot longer, but I do find it very uncomfortable when I go super viral.
Do you know what? I agree with everything you're saying. And as someone that's done this for a very long time, that's one of the
Mm.
reasons I refuse to niche. I think you're in a position where you are niched in a way that when you go viral and when you're growing, it's for
Mm.
those specific topics and it will be time and time again. Whereas my videos that do
Mm.
really well between my page and mine and G's page, the
Yeah.
types of videos, I've done that on purpose because if anything, I'm actually
Mm.
doing a challenge at the moment. So for the next 6 months, I'm calling it the cringe
Mm.
challenge because
I
I'm
saw
at the
that.
point
Yeah.
of, like you said, sometimes you hate the fear of being perceived, but my career has taught me that not on one of my platforms do I have 10,000 followers, and I'm trying to get there now
Mm.
because I want to be able to just sit and make a video and make money from it. But
Mm. Mm.
I'm lucky enough that brands will see my videos, my engagement, and want to work with me based off of what they see. But the flip
Mm.
side of that is the anxiety that comes with people thinking that they know you from two, three
Mm.
videos or one video. Like you said,
Yeah.
it's not even always a couple of minutes. Like I've been called a gold
Mm.
digger. I have, oh, name it. I have
Every
had,
name under the sun.
yeah. And like you said, like racist things. And I think that's why when I talk about authenticity and what I want to be doing moving forward and removing that
Mm.
mask, it's showing that it's okay to be you, but that doesn't mean that you just
Mm.
expect people being
Mm.
idiots. And I love community
Yeah.
because, like you, I don't have to argue back anymore. My followers will do
Mm.
that. And sometimes I
Yeah.
shame people by going, do you know what? You might have meant this in the best intention, or you clearly haven't.
Mm.
So I'm going to reply to your comment as a video. Let's see what you do about it then, because
Yeah. Yeah.
you have the balls to sit there and talk about really personal things online and
Mm.
snippets of your life that you're sharing, because my thing's always
Mm.
I want to help one other person. That's it. If
mm,
there's one other
mm,
person that's felt the way that I've done and has been stuck, that's what
mm,
I'm focusing on. So if you're then going to
yeah.
sit there and try to alienate this group of people that feel like
Mm,
they found someone that understands them, because even with us,
yeah.
we've not physically seen each other in absolutely years, and yet
Mm,
we are still connecting on social media and still going,
yeah.
we still resonate with each other, and now on a
Mm,
different level as adults. Like our parents, yes, might have brought us together, but
mm,
we are still a part of each other's community because of what we've built.
exactly.
And I always
Yeah.
think, to me, as long as like post and dip sometimes, and
Mm, mm,
I also think if you get to a point where you can have an assistant, someone that can filter through
mm,
some of those things for you, because to me, I always tell clients, even negative comments, it's a
mm.
comment, it's
Yeah.
engagement. The algorithm doesn't know the difference. So for the sake,
Yeah.
depending on what your goal is, I say to
Mm,
clients, leave us to deal with the negative stuff. We will reply, we'll
mm,
do whatever needs to be done. All you need to do is record your videos, be happy, do whatever you need to do, and you're going to be fine.
yeah.
So I think it's
Yeah.
you have to balance it, but I think it's just allowing yourself to understand that people like to project, and
Yeah.
you're not actually trying to hurt
Yeah.
anyone.
Yeah, I think you've nailed it, honestly. Like that balance, it's so hard. In the spirit of full transparency, I've not got it down. Um, I think, like you said, being able to dip is a technique I'm using a lot now, and just not putting pressure on myself to be on social media all the time, on TikTok all the time. Even after I posted, I might be on there for like 5 minutes, but then
Yeah,
leave. And if I see a video going really viral, generally that's a sign for me to take a step away, because I
yeah,
know that when I'm in reading all the messages and comments coming through, I'm far more likely to react out of emotion,
yeah,
rather than taking a step back. And I think, and linked to that, when you do get these viral videos, people don't see you as a person anymore. Like
yeah,
with they don't see that you have feelings, that you have multiple facets to that viewpoint. And like I'll have comments like saying she is, and like she's just like, and I'm
yeah,
like, no, I'm here.
yeah.
Like
It's
I'm
true.
reading this. It's not she. It's not this like far off person. And then once I started to realize that people aren't viewing it like I'm a friend on the screen, like
Yeah,
my core set of people that follow me, then again it helps me keep that balance of, okay, it's just engagement, it's just social media.
yeah. And do you know what? I
Mhm.
think that's a really good way of phrasing it, because I always think, because my thing is, you're
Mhm.
projecting for a reason. That's a you problem, but it doesn't
Mm,
stop you from being hurt by some of the things that you do see. But then, like you said, I think
mm,
that's why it's good to focus on the community that you build as well, because those people
mm,
are your ride and dies. They are there to support every little thing that you do,
mm.
and ultimately, that's all that matters.
Yeah, 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 exactly.
Well,
Mhm.
actually, whilst we're talking about all of that, how are you actually doing? Let's do a mental health check-in.
Well, I love this. I'm good. I'm actually really, I can honestly say I'm happy. I'm very happy. Not perfect all the time. Like I said, um, this week's imposter syndrome had got to me, but I'm about to go on holiday next week, so
Yeah.
I'm like mentally checking out of work for a little bit. And I was really looking forward to catching up with you this week as well.
Oh, I love that. And where are you off to on holiday?
I'm going to Morocco.
Oh, I'm so jealous. Oh,
Marrakesh.
oh, Marrakesh.
Yeah,
Me and Dee
yeah,
have been
yeah,
talking about going. I went a few years ago, and it is one of the best places. I travelled around, but it is one of the best
yeah.
places I've ever been to.
Oh my gosh, I'm so looking forward to it. I was looking at the weather forecast and it's like 40 degrees, and I was like,
Heat wave.
how am I going to cope with that?
To be fair, like when I think actually I was there. Yeah, it was about 40 degrees, so I was there at the end of June. During the day, you don't go out. Be it just in
Mm,
the pool, and then it's
yeah,
towards the evening. That's when you start to properly go out and do stuff.
yeah,
That heat.
yeah, yeah.
I remember one day getting up and being like, "Yeah, whilst
Mm,
it's quiet." To be fair, I'd gone like towards the end of the pandemic, so it was like Marrakesh
mm,
was dead. But I
mm.
remember getting out and being like, "Let's just walk out." Not even 5 minutes. I had to turn around because I couldn't breathe.
No, I don't think you can walk in that heat. Like that's the conclusion I was coming to. I was like, you can't be outside
Yeah, it's
in that
wild.
heat.
Oh, but I'm
How are
excited.
you though?
How am I? Do you know what?
Hmm.
I think I'm in a transitional period, and like after like the engagement and work and thanks, there's just been. I think I'm in a period of life where I'm transitioning to that next stage, and whilst I don't know what
Mm,
that next stage looks like, I know it's going to be fine, but this part of that growth is painful, to say the least.
Yeah,
You get to
yeah,
points
yeah.
where, especially with business, like I wouldn't change anything for the world. I love working for myself, but the reality of it is, and I've talked about this before, I didn't, when I started getting help with the business, I didn't realize what it meant to actually have a team. So
Yeah.
sometimes, like I was saying to you yesterday, I got really upset because like there's just been like family stuff going on, like with the wedding. Being an oldest daughter, people are expecting things to be a way that they're not going to be. And I was saying I was just drained because I'm having to be the oldest daughter. I'm having to be the brain for my team sometimes because like we're all going through separate stuff. Clients want you to be the brain. I still have to be my own brain. And then
Yeah.
like, I'm relying on G to kind of take off some of that mental load. So whilst I'm in like a really happy place, I'm trying to focus on the fact that this is a part of the journey and to enjoy that journey. But when you can't see the end, that's where I'm like, oh, it's giving me anxiety.
Yeah.
But I've decided
Yeah.
tonight, so after this, because I was really looking forward to this and I planned the whole day, I'm going to go to the gym straight after. So I've not been sleeping
Nice.
well. So I'm really hoping that knocks me, like I get back and I get knocked out.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like you have a lot. I'm trying not to go also into interview mode and interview you from previous podcasts, but it sounds like AG's support as a support system is incredible. And I think recognizing that he has that ability to take that mental load off you. Oh, I wish that I think I commented this on one of your posts. I wish that for every woman, especially like oldest daughter energy, where you feel that pressure from your family to get things right.
Yeah.
And you feel that pressure to like live up to their expectations in all areas of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what? That's actually a really funny point as well because I feel like no, because my therapist was saying to me, I went back recently. I had an idea she was going to propose, and I was like, "Yep, I'm going to need to be in therapy for this," and I was spot on. And she was saying that, especially as oldest daughters, we build our work and life into each other. So when one thing feels like it's not going the way it should do, everything feels then like it's starting to drag you. But that's because the way that our brains work, everything like they say men and women's brains are different in the sense that all of our boxes touch, whereas men's boxes, they could be thinking about football, they could be thinking about food. The two don't touch, whereas we could be sat watching football thinking about food. So I think as the oldest daughter, there's always this element that we put on, I think we put on ourselves as well, of everything needs to work and be okay. And I like to call it 3D chess. You're always thinking, but sometimes you just need to kind of stop and do nothing and just chill.
Exactly, and things will fall into place. I think it's also trying to work out what you can change and what you can't change, and accepting that people's reactions are their own.
Yeah.
Like finding ways to somewhat separate the boxes and to compartmentalize as best as you can. And I think for me, how I do that is taking myself out of the equation as I can, do the things that I can do, and accept that things that I can't do, the things that I can't influence, well, they're just going to be.
Yeah. So true. And also, I love you asking me questions as well. I love this.
So, yeah.
I was thinking there, oh, right, okay, we've got 10 minutes, so I'm going to have to like quickly round this up. But I'm so interested. Like, obviously, like you and your sister moved in together. You bought a house, which is amazing. Congratulations. But between then going from living at home, going to uni, buying a house with your sister, like, how have you found that transition as the oldest daughter?
Well, for us, buying our house was a really, really stressful process. And I think my relationship with my parents as the oldest daughter is definitely better when I'm not living with them. So the combination of buying the house, and also I was in clinical medicine. So at the time I was working nights, weekends, really horrible shifts. Whereas now in research, I'm quite separated from that. So I'm more relaxed. And then also living under their roof was quite a stressful time for me. At the time I was single, so I coped with it by, really focusing on trying to understand what makes me happy. Like trying to focus on spending time with myself and journaling and exercising. And I think I'm so grateful that I developed those skills during those times, because now life is a lot better. Like I have the house, I have an amazing partner, my job is less stressful. But when I do get stressed, I can refer back to those tools that I developed during that really dark time. And that's what I want to encourage you from, like every period of time that seems like, oh my gosh, when will this end? Because I really thought we weren't going to go through that time. actually teaches you so much stuff that will ultimately make your life so much brighter at a different day.
That's true.
So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Honestly, spot on, and that's why I'm going to the gym. So I,
Mm,
especially once I started going to therapy, I realized that. So we worked out that I need to eat at certain points of the day because I've done intermittent fasting for years. So
mm,
I now, when I say that sometimes my brain just doesn't function, I've systemized
mm,
my life to the point where
mm,
I know what time I'm supposed to eat. Friends
mm,
don't cook anymore, which is great. But like you've said, having a great partner does make a massive difference. I'm going to
mm,
the gym because I know that one, that helps me mentally, but two, when I get back,
mm,
because I've not been sleeping, that will help me
mm,
sleep more. So that if I do wake up early, I know what I'm going to do next.
mm.
Next, so
Yeah, yeah,
nice having that reminder that like, okay, you're doing the right things, and it'll all be fine in the end.
yeah,
But yeah, just
yeah.
going through it.
And I always have this running commentary now. I realized I developed it from that time in my brain. Like I always have a voice in my head, like talking
Yeah,
about thinking about random stuff. But whenever I've managed to do something, even if it's like going to the gym, like a few weeks ago, I was like, I really, really don't want to go. And I went for a whole of 5 minutes, and I went on the Stairmaster and I went home. Afterwards, I was like, you did it. You did that. You got yourself out of the house where you didn't feel like it, and you went to the gym. Well done. And like, if you aren't your biggest fan, like your pet person, your cheerleader, then you can't really expect anyone else to be able to do a
yeah,
good enough job. Like, I think you need to be that person.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
yeah.
It's so true. I've actually, because I got up this morning, I was like, I know I've got to leave to go like view this property, but I've got my gym stuff on. So as soon as we finish,
Mm,
my top comes off
mm,
and that's it. Because I knew if
yeah.
I start thinking, what am I going to wear? What am I going to do? It's not going to happen.
It's not happening. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely
Mhm.
love that. Okay, so we will end with win of the week. What is yours?
Oh, win of the week. Um, I feel like I've shared it with my overcoming the imposter syndrome. Oh no, actually, to be fair, it is linked to that. My win of the week is linked to the imposter syndrome I've been struggling with, and being able to, I feel like I kind of got myself out of it. Um, but I gave one of my supervisors gave me this challenge to write a big study document. And he gave me 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks to write it.
Yeah.
And I've managed to finish it. And I was speaking to a colleague, and he was like, when you're doing your PhD, they kind of give you like 6 months to write that. And I was like, what? Now that that's happened, and I feel like, okay, I've managed to accomplish that. I can do that. I might not know everything, but when I put my mind to something, I can get it done. And that is a um, that's one of the core values of who I am, like one of the core things about
Yeah.
who I am. Like
Yeah.
if I put my mind to something, I can do it. And it was just a good reminder of my capabilities. So
Yeah.
that is my definite win of the week.
Oh, I love that. And funnily enough, so mine's linked similar to
Mhm.
yours. So my
Yeah.
word of the year is discipline. And I said to myself, you know
Mm.
what, this year, I don't need to be perfect. I just need to try new things and be. So I'm also going down this path of like becoming a millionaire. So I'm like, embody millionaire
Mm.
chick. And what does millionaire chick do? Eats regularly, goes to the gym. And for me, this will be the second time I'm going to the gym this week after like a 4 week break. So after before I
Mm.
went on holiday, I stopped going and then just haven't gone back. So that's my
Yeah.
thing as well. And I think the fact that I've been once this week and then I went to go yesterday and G was like, why are you going this late? Stay at home. I was like, all right, well, he's actually asking me to stay home, so I will. Whereas I feel like I'm in the position where I don't need to consistently be doing these absolutely amazing things. And sometimes just
Mm.
the little things and getting through each day actually does amount to a lot. So yeah, I think my word
Yeah.
of the week is just the fact that I've allowed the week to be what it is.
Love that. I love that. The little things add up.
Yeah, they
Mhm.
really do. Oh, right.
Definitely.
Okay,
Mhm.
so the reason that I wanted to get you on this first one was just to have the generic chat, and I would love to have you back because we've
Oh
touched
my gosh.
so many different topics, and
Yeah.
I just think that as a whole, like this is such a it's because we've not even talked about the social media side of everything, but
Mm.
yeah,
Or like
so,
being Zambians, and
yeah,
like we could go into that in so much more depth, like
yeah,
as a
exactly.
children
I,
of immigrants. Yeah.
and it's so funny because I had a massive plan of like how I wanted this to be, but this is why I like these to be more relaxed anyway. Because I always think as well in having this is
Mm.
very much a therapeutic thing,
Mm.
but
Mm.
also being able to then drill down and get people to ask
Mm.
questions or just see and then go, okay, I want more of this, or I want to learn more about
Mm.
this. I think that's where I want things, yeah, with us to go. So I will definitely be inviting you to come back on very, very soon. But
I
thank you
love
so
that.
much for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for your time as well. And I hope you have an amazing gym session.
Thanks. Okay, so where can everyone
Mhm.
find you? We'll link it anyway, but whilst they're listening slash watching.
On Dr. Wannie on all socials. TikTok is where you'll find me most active. I have an Instagram that I think I will challenge myself to do more of probably after summer when I have the energy for it. So yeah, find me over there.
Oh, absolutely love it. Oh, thank you again. And everyone keep
Mhm.
liking, subscribing, leave comments as you normally do. And I will see you in 2 weeks. Bye.
Right, thank you. Bye.